Hello and welcome to the Best Football Show. I'm your host, Brian Baldinger. I'm here every day, especially this week with the draft. This is Monday, April, what is it, April 21st? Something like that, 22nd. I guess April 22nd. And it's getting exciting. I mean, we're draft week right here. We're heading to Detroit real soon. And you can find me all over social media on X at Baldy NFL, on Twitter, on Threads, on TikTok, on YouTube, you name it, at Baldy NFL. You also can download this podcast, your free Odyssey podcast, like, subscribe, wherever you get your podcast. And so leading up to the draft, we've done a lot, but right now we're in the process of just really evaluating my top 5 players at each position group. And I want to start today with the cornerbacks because honestly, everybody needs 3 starting cornerbacks. You need 2 outside, one that can handle the slot, handle the slot receivers of this business. And so that's a different skill set, but really want to concentrate on the top 5 corners. Everybody needs 3. You're going to play 4. You better have at least 4 good ones that can line up and play on Sundays. And so even teams that look like they're set at corners, if you get a chance to draft one of these, you have to think about it. It has to be in the conversation. My number 1 corner is Terrion Arnold from Alabama, almost 6 feet tall, 190 pounds. Really, I don't know if he was the number 1 corner going into the season, but what I love about him is I've seen him in press man coverage, not afraid to jam you and run with you. All right. I've seen him play off man. I've seen him in just zone. I've seen him make plays on the other side of the field. He's really just has a great sense of awareness about situations, who he's playing, and he is a very good tackler. I mean, you watch him against Texas early in the year, taking down Xavier Worthy, in the open field. And if you don't tackle Xavier Worthy right there in the open field, he makes a house call on you because we know how fast he is. He had 5 interceptions this year. He had 12 passes defensed. He had all those kind of numbers. He also had 63 tackles. Like 63 tackles from a corner on a team that had Kool-Aid, that had Dallas Turner, that has all of these edge rushers. They're loaded. It's Alabama. 63 tackles. A lot of these tackles on the outside in college football, you're defeating big wide receivers. You're defeating tight ends that are trying to hold you off on these bubble screens and some of these wide receiver screens. And there's Terrion Arnold. I mean, it's just a really elite skill set that he has. I expect him to be the number 1 corner. And look, he ran a 1.54 10 split, which is good. It's not elite. He ran a 4.5 40. It's good. It's not elite. I think he plays fast. But if he's not the number 1 corner, I believe the number 1 corner taker will be Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo. He reminds me, in some cases, of Devin Witherspoon from a year ago at Illinois, who was the number 1 corner off the board. He might not be the same hitter that we saw last year from Witherspoon. I mean, we just saw an elite tackler and just a thumper, like we haven't seen it all. And then he brought that to the NFL and brought that to Seattle. But this Quinyon Mitchell he's got such suddenness to him. He had 18 passes defense. Now, he's playing at Toledo. He's playing the MAC. That's fine. But he ran a 4.33. And he had a 1.51 10-yard split. I mean, very elite foot quickness on a guy 6 foot and change, 6 foot, almost 6'1", 195 pounds. You watch him just break. He plays on top of his receivers. He's right where he needs to be. He's on the upfield shoulder. He's cluing the quarterback. He sees the routes. And then, bam, when that ball's in the air. He's burst. You can see his burst. It's the type of plays that you just want your corners to be able to make. You just don't want to give up anything underneath. And he fights to break up every single pass. He's not giving you any free lunches. He's not giving you any free catches. Quinyon Mitchell, if Terrion's not the first corner taken, I believe Quinyon Mitchell will be. if you start looking at the teams that need corners, I mean, you could honestly say that Atlanta, all right, they got AJ Terrell on one side. They've got a good slot defender. Like, could Atlanta be in play for corner? We think more edge rusher or receiver than corner. Chicago is pretty well set. But like, if you just look at the Jets, okay, I know you've got Sauce and you've got DJ Reed and you've got, Eccles and you've got Carter. But what if you just said, you know what, we've got the best defensive line of football. We're going to get after you with our front four. We've got a great tandem of inside linebacker and CJ Mosley and Quincy Williams. What if we just said, I don't care how you play us. You want to attack us? Air raid system, 4 wide receivers. We're going to line up 4 wide receivers. And we're just going to put a Star Wars system over our defense, and you're just not going to get in the end zone. I mean, it's a possibility. I don't think they'll do it, but it's certainly, you're looking at Denver. They need corners. You look at the Raiders. I feel like they could use a corner. And certainly Indianapolis. They're, outside of, Juju Brents, who they drafted last year, they need a corner. So they could easily fall anywhere between, let's say, Atlanta at 8 and Indianapolis at 15. And then the third corner, and look, some people have him higher than this, is Nate Wiggins. Nate Wiggins is a tall, long, thin, wiry corner, 6'1", 173 pounds. Some people think he's too thin. I don't know. He looks just fine to me. He doesn't have the longest arms, so his 6'1" frame helps in that regard. But he ran a 4.28. Like, you watch these plays where he's not saving lives, but it looks like he's saving touchdowns. And you watch him against Florida State with those receivers that they have, Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman, big receivers, and watch him just go ball out. Watch him make these plays against North Carolina, against Devontae Walker on a spray fade, saving touchdowns against University of Miami. I mean, here goes the back in Miami's 60 yards. He's going for a touchdown. Here comes Wiggins. Like, this speed just shows up. And look, you're trying to shrink the field defensively as much as you can. You're playing zone. You're in a cover 3. You got a third of the field. You're trying to cover as much ground as you can. You need good eyes to see everything happening, and you need a burst. You need a burst to close. You're playing cover 2. You're rerouting at the point, and you're just trying to take away the flat and not give up, the honeycomb shots between the safety and the corner. Like, you're trying to shrink the field as much as you can. Nate Wiggins' speed, he does that. And then I would say Cooper DeJean from Iowa. I love everything about Cooper. I went back and watched all of his plays last year. The only thing that you don't see him do well is you don't see him literally. Now, part of it was Iowa's defense, so I'm not going to criticize him fully for this. But the only thing I don't see him do well is really press man coverage, where he just turns and runs with these receivers. A couple times he did it. Gets his hands on guys a little too much for me. Some teams don't seem to have any problem with it. But he's a big corner at over 6 feet, over 200 pounds, 203 pounds. He just doesn't make a lot of plays on the ball. He's an excellent tackler. He understands the game. He gets off blocks. When he hits you, you go down. I'm just not sure if he's twitchy enough, if he can really turn and run on the perimeter with the A.J. Browns and some of these guys in this league that are just beasts outside. Like, I think physically he can handle A.J. and Devontae and all those guys, but the guys that can just fly on the outside, I'm not sure if he can just turn and run with Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson and the moves that they throw at you. But that's the only reservation I have. Otherwise, he's right there. And then finally, I'm going to finish with Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama. He was probably, going into the season, the number 1 rated corner in all of college football. Like, he had a very good 2022 season. 2023, it looks like Terrion Arnold kind of overtakes him in Alabama. He comes, he goes through the season. He doesn't get any interceptions. He had just a couple of pass breakups. Like, he looked like corner number 2 at Alabama. And for that, you kind of drop him. But He's 5'11" and change. He's 200 pounds. He's got long arms. He runs well. Like, to me, he's the fifth corner in a pretty deep class. I would expect all five of these guys to go in the first round. You could see Kansas City, just lost an elite corner. Would they restock it? Would Philadelphia at 22? Would they, who needs help on defense in the worst way, would they be interested in a corner? I mean, they gave up 35 touchdown passes last year. All the ball did in every game was go over their head. You watch them against Washington. They're putting up 31 points a game against Philadelphia. The secondary was poor. They tackled poorly and they covered poorly. They need a corner. You could see, Green Bay go with a corner or an offensive lineman. You could see Detroit looking for a corner for sure. They're in the market for a corner. You could see Kool-Aid going there at 28 or 29 to Detroit. You could see somebody trading back into the first round with Kansas City or Baltimore or San Francisco possibly to get one of these corners, get them on a 5-year contract. So that's the corner market. That's my top 5. There's plenty of other corners in this draft. But I think if you want an elite corner, you almost always have to spend a first-round pick to go find them. And so that's where I'm at with this class. Thank you for listening. And now I want to get to my top 5 inside linebackers because there is a lot to choose from. I think it's a very deep class of off-the-ball inside linebackers. So my number 1 off-the-ball inside linebacker is Peyton Wilson from North Carolina State. He is a phenomenal player. He would be a top 15 player if it not for he's had ACL tear in high school, ACL tear freshman year at North Carolina State. He's had shoulder surgeries. He just went through a season healthy, and he was off the charts good. First of all, he's almost 6'4". He's 233 pounds. He runs in the 4.4s, and he smacks you. Like, his playmaking ability is unbelievable. Like, he had 17 tackle for losses. He had 6 sacks. He had 10 quarterback hits. He had 3 interceptions. Like, his ability to find the football, get to the football, and make things happen is second to none. I mean, you can't take your eyes off the guy. He's tall. Like, if you're looking for, don't want to compare him to Brian Urlacher because he's not as big as Urlacher, but he runs better than Brian. He's not as big as he was, but he's 6'4", like Brian was. You want somebody to run the seam with your tight ends? He could do that. He's all over the field. Like, he's one of my favorite players in this draft. And he might be the first. And I don't know what the medicals are because every team looks at these things differently. And some teams just automatically take him out of the first round. They don't even want to be blinded by his tape, which is so good. They don't even want to be blinded by his tape. They just want to say, we're not taking him in the first round. Okay. But the conversation can be had starting in the second round. Like the Dallas Cowboys, they have the 56th pick in the second round. Like, you can't help but think Dallas is going to be looking at a linebacker with that 56th pick. And Peyton Wilson would certainly. Now, Leighton Vander Esch just went through a bunch of injuries, surgeries, retired after 5 or 6 years. Maybe they don't want to travel down that road. All right, but my next best off-the-ball inside linebacker is Edgerrin Cooper from Texas A&M. He's not as big as Peyton. He's 6'2", he's 230. He runs almost as good. He runs a 4.5, 140. He had 8 sacks. He had 17 tackle for losses. If you just watched the Alabama game, Edgerrin Cooper from Texas A&M, number 45, he would be taken in the first 20 picks. He just would be. He's just that dynamic. Now, he's a very, very good player. He's not Alabama good every week, but he was. If you're looking to spy a Josh Allen or Lamar on a third down, just go watch him spy Jaden Daniels. Go watch him spy, Milrow from Alabama, or you just watch him spy in these situations. He flattens these quarterbacks down. Like, man, when he hits you now, like, man, both Peyton Wilson and Edgerrin Cooper will just smack the living daylights out of you. Like, he's fun to watch. And like I said, if you just watched the Alabama game, Edgerrin Cooper would be a top 20 pick. I've cross-checked that with coaches, with personnel directors. They love him. But he could be taken, early second round. I kind of think that's the sweet spot for him right now. Then there's Michigan's Junior Colson, okay, number 25. I mean, he's 240 pounds on a 6'2 frame. He had 95 tackles this year on a team that's loaded with defensive talent. I mean, Chris Jenkins and Ristel. I mean, you just they're going to have 15, 16, 17 players drafted, a lot of them on defense. So you're not going to have, the 100 and plus tackles that Cooper had or Peyton Wilson had. But Junior Colson is so solid. Like, he played most of the year he's got a club on his hand. Like, that's never fun. He's playing with a club. He's out there with a different color club on every week, seemingly. But, man, you talk about a guy that can just find the football and knows how to play linebacker. Got a combo block on his defensive tackle, Jenkins, coming up to him. He knows how to use him as an interference to stack, shed, find the opening, flatten, get to the football. Junior Colson is in this conversation right now for an elite off-the-ball inside linebacker. I kind of think, we're going to start getting late second rounds, third rounds right now. There's going to be a lot of interest in him. Like, you could see the Chargers in their later rounds, second or third round, being interested in Junior Colson. You just see this attachment that I'm sure Jim Harbaugh has. I'm sure Mike McDonald, looking for inside linebackers in Seattle, is going to be looking at Junior Colson. Like, he was there at Michigan. Seattle, basically released Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks. They need inside linebackers. I can see Colson, going to Seattle, somebody like that. And then my next favorite is Jeremiah Trotter Jr., the son of Jeremiah Trotter. Not as big as his dad. He's 6 foot, maybe 6 feet, like just a smidge under. He's 228 pounds. Not the biggest guy, but man, if you just want to create an all-effort team, you're going to put Trot on that team, And, oh, by the way, he's coming after you. He's coming after you. He's coming after your quarterback. He's coming after your back for tackle for losses. All those kind of plays. He's taking an interception to the house. He's stemming late. He is perpetual motion. And he's a fun guy to break down. He's not as big as his dad used to just own the A-gaps. I mean, he'd bring his axe and he would just own the A-gaps in the NFL. And you couldn't run inside because he was 260 pounds. He was just blown up guards and centers. And that was his game. I guess the challenge for Trot is just going to be, is he going to be an every down linebacker? Is he going to be able to cover your running backs and tight ends on third downs and out of the backfield and that kind of stuff? Is he going to get matched up with the Christian McCaffreys and Saquons and those kind of backs, and how does he hold up? That's going to be the question. And then, look, there's a lot of other good linebackers. Cedric Gray at North Carolina. Maris Leafau from Notre Dame. But I love Boogie Watson from Mississippi State. His nickname Bookie. But he is the guy's had 244 tackles in the last 2 years. He's 6'2" and change. He's 233 pounds. He ran in the 4.6s, low 4.6s. But he's had 244 tackles. He's had 25 tackle for losses. He's had 16 sacks, forced fumbles. I mean, he's filled up your stat page at off the ball inside linebacker at Mississippi State. I mean, he is an exciting prospect, probably a third round pick right now. I feel like there's not going to be anybody taken in the first round. I think these inside linebackers are going to start to go in the second round and into the third round. I expect all these guys to be taken by the time we finish day 2 of the draft next Friday. So anyways, that's That's the cornerback and off the ball inside linebacking top 5 picks that I like. There's good depth. There's good depth here, but Buki is a guy that I finished with that just makes unbelievable amount of plays, just an unbelievable amount. And really, the question for all these off the ball inside linebackers is, how quickly can they figure out the NFL passing game, knowing that you got to know what's going on behind you without ever looking, like Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, like that tandem has been together for 5 years. Fred Warner was a 3rd-round pick at a BYU, has started every single game for the 49ers. He tests very similar to a lot of these type players. He was a guy coming out of BYU. He ran the 4.6s. He was 6'2", 6'3", right in there. But unbelievable intensity, unbelievable effort, unbelievable game preparation. Plays the game so fast, it makes him look faster than he is. Just how quickly he reacts. And that's really the question. You can look at the combine numbers on all these linebackers, and some of them are really good, like Peyton Wilson. But he also plays really fast. And that's really the question for these inside linebackers is, okay, the college game is completely different than the NFL game. You're going to see, a rushing attack that's totally different, protections that are different. How quickly can you learn the NFL game where you can just fire your pistol? You can just play fast, super fast. And you can know the route combinations developing behind you without looking. You can run in your Tampa 2 defenses with the tight end or the number 3 down the middle of the field, knowing when the ball is coming, when it's not coming. So a lot of it is just how they get coached up, the scheme that they get put in, and just, how quickly can they play really fast like they did for their college teams. That's been the top 5 cornerbacks and off-the-ball inside linebackers for the best football show. I'm Brian Baldinger. Come look for me tomorrow. We're going to talk about more of the top 5s as we start getting ready for the NFL draft Thursday night, April 25th, live from Detroit. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Look forward to talking to you tomorrow.